Welcome back to the Telosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Schedules are all over the place, but we did catch Randy.
We somehow made it.
Unfortunately, not for tech, but you know, who needs tech?
Nah.
We know
Nothing really
I'm just
happened.
going to talk about how terrible
this thing.
iPad OS is. Let me guess. You guys talked about iPad OS and everybody crapping on it, and maybe even the rabbit controversy with CoffeeZilla. Am I spot on? Is that about right?
Not even close, but that's
Dang.
fine.
I think it
You'll
was
have to listen to
the
that
exact
and the rest of the
opposite
people
of
who
everything
make
you
it.
just said.
Wow,
But-
that is incredible and absolutely wrong.
I wanted to cut to the chase. So, audience, to peel back a little bit more of the curtain, Drew told us that he had something that he wanted to tell us.
That
he
is
needed
not
both of us
true.
on the podcast.
Oh my God, you liar.
Nope,
You
I'm not
frickin'
lying
frick.
at all.
You,
Nope.
I did not
lying
say
at all.
that at all. I'm going to
He
pull up
wanted to announce
text.
something. He was going
right
to
now.
announce something to us.
All I know is
I'm
that I
expecting
had
an
to be here for this
Never said
because
that.
technically I shouldn't be here. I almost couldn't make it, and I'm blocking out. I might not be able to stay for the whole episode, just so.
He was the
yay,
best
if you don't
man
like
at his
me,
friend's
sorry
wedding.
if you do.
He isn't there now because of this. But I straight up said in the texts, which I'm pulling up now, because Randy was busy, and this is what we do every week. We try to figure out the schedule. I said, I'm up for doing just one episode if that's easier. Just have to be done before 2:30 my time. Mike said, that's fine. Randy said, I'm not sure. I have appointments.
Gosh. Anyways, you said at one point, even if I just had you for EV for just a little bit around X time, that would be great.
I told
So you're
him.
wanting both of us here.
I
for some
told
reason.
Drew. I goes, you bought something. You did something. I can feel it. He goes, I never said that. He goes, you didn't have to. I said, you don't have to.
What'd you buy, Drew?
I was
feel
trying
your
my best to get you all here today, but y'all kept reading through the lines at every possible chance. I was like,
Well, when
I
you're
just want
very-
the three of us together because I love you both.
You're so full of it, Drew.
Nope.
I know
Stop
you
it.
too well. I know you way too well.
well, if
you're
I
so
had a
full of
bolt,
it.
wouldn't I have started the show in it?
No, well, technically,
No.
That's how you
it's too
did
hot
with the
outside.
Model 3 and no
Ordering the
but
Altera.
something. All I know is you
What's-
did something EV related because you emphasized EV. You want me for EV, so you
You
want
have to
me.
tell us.
You got
What
me.
would I?
It's-
What would I have for tech? Is there anything?
Rip off the Band-Aid, Drew.
You buy an iPad.
No. No, I can
Yeah, that would
feel
throw you
your
off the
anger.
scent.
It gives you
Okay.
focus.
Well,
Makes you stronger.
I actually have, and they know about this. I reached out to them beforehand. I have a special guest that I'm bringing on the show that's already recording their side. So I'll sync them up and post and everything. But I brought TeloTruck's new content strategist to be on the podcast.
Did you really?
Sweet.
And here he is.
Oh my God.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
The man has a job.
My
I've been
guy
hired.
He got a 9 to 5.
I don't think it's a 9 to 5, but it
True.
is the first time I've worked in my life.
Congrats. That's exciting, Drew.
Hey, those mandarins weren't going to pick themselves.
I was not on the picking crew. I was
Okay.
strictly told not to. But yeah,
Okay.
anyway, I wanted to catch your reaction, so
Dude.
thank you.
Well, Randy's frozen on my end. So
Am I really?
let's see what he's reacting
Oh,
to
shoot.
now.
Can he hear me?
I can hear you, but your video is frozen.
What?
Nope, it's back. You're back.
There we
You're
go.
good.
Guys. First of all, Drew. How does...
I didn't buy anything.
Okay, I thought Aptera. Mike thought Bolt and I was not expecting this. Okay, question. Are you signed to an NDA?
I am, yes.
Dang. This is awesome. This is awesome. Me too.
Yeah. Dude, the amount of work that goes into contracts. This has been like a 3-week process, so it was very hard not to tell you both.
If this is not okay, so if this is not part of the NDA, did you hire a lawyer to go over your contract, or was it very simple and you just agreed to these terms?
It wasn't simple, but I did not hire a lawyer.
Okay.
I talked to a good friend of mine who used to be a lawyer, but is currently not. He made sure I was aware of that. He was like, do not say that you got legal advice, because I'm not an attorney and I can't act as a lawyer. So I just said, yeah, I know. You just have more experience with looking at contracts than I do. And he told me what things to look out for. I brought it up to Telo, and they were very transparent, and they were very open and just made every change I requested. I said, I need this, this, and that. And they said, okay, we'll make sure it's in there. So there was a lot of back and forth, a lot more paperwork than someone like me is used to doing, but it's a done deal. I didn't want to announce it until it had officially been signed. And
when was this?
They were
yesterday. Did you officially sign yesterday?
Yesterday. So that answers Mike's question, because he saw my tweet about all of the Waymos in San Fran.
Yeah, so you were here, so I figured, okay, he was here for some reason, but then you explained to me on the tech podcast that you were picking someone up or dropping someone off.
I love this.
At the airport, so I figured
that wasn't yesterday. That was...
Well, you were misdirecting me with whatever. Anyways.
I wanted to see you. I wanted to hang out, but I left my house at 4 a.m. that morning. You couldn't. No.
Obviously.
It didn't. But it was a very full day. I'll just say it that way. There was filming and all of the talk about the contract, and just in person. This is the first time I've met with them in person and actually had to talk about, what are we going to do? Here's the angle I have in mind for you guys and the content, and here's what I want to do. What do you definitely not want? I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. So it was a bunch of paperwork and talking for several hours, then a lot of filming, a lot of editing. I didn't get home until 10 o'clock last night. So it was a very...
So this is why I couldn't get you on my show. Because you were literally busy. But now, even more so, I know exactly what I want to talk about. Not the contents of what you can't, but the business.
A lot I can talk about, to be honest. There's not much I can't talk about. So
I have a business question for you. Just this is more.
That's why I wanted to do it on the show, because I knew you guys would probably have questions. So
I do have questions. Less about the product, because it's so not a thing yet, but more so your involvement. I need to solidify for myself your role here. Is this something like, are you on payroll, or are you just a consultant, or like what is your legal business purpose like on record when it comes to like IRS stuff? What are you?
Yeah, I'm an independent contractor, so not employee. Okay. So they consider this to be a part-time role. So it's not, I'm not moving down there unless Mike welcomes his home.
Well, after what I announced on the tech podcast, I think Drew's definitely seriously thinking about the Bay Area now.
I'm pretty sure we have on video Mike saying that I'm welcome to move in. And according to my friend, who's definitely not a lawyer, video words are as good as in writing. So
I also include some other words in there too, but that's fine.
Earlier that day,
it seems like you are definitely the one that is due for the upgrade. It's just not happening. It's just maybe just gotta move in. We're not too far, Drew. Just move into the house.
I will have to seriously think about it, because
this is not a formal offer.
Just
for the record.
I didn't catch that part. You're breaking up, but I am packing right now, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Back to the present.
That's not important right now, Mike. I'm just talking about moving in. But no, this is not a full-time gig, so I will be making trips down there to do a bunch of filming, and then probably most of the editing I will still do from home.
Your roles and responsibilities still lie with TeloTruck.
Yeah, that's something I'll do a little update video on my personal channel. So for those who have seen that, this will be kind of a repeat. But for podcast listeners, because I've learned some of you just listen to the podcast and don't watch the videos. But they do not care what happens with Telosive at all. I can keep doing the podcasts. I can keep making videos about whatever I want to talk about. They are completely in the clear and aware that I can say and do whatever I want on my own channels. They don't get to tell me what to do over there.
And you're not stepping away from your content strategy, I guess, necessarily, with at least tech and EV being your primary source of work. Like that's like you still got your. I guess what I'm asking is like, is there a trade-off that's going to happen now with this more so than ever, or is it more like, oh, that's business as usual for tech, business as usual for EV, more or less business as usual for podcasts, and we can schedule it.
Yeah.
And then when I can and whatever, how that works, like, is it more like that, or is it more like I have to take a step back from other obligations to focus on this for a little bit?
As far as I can tell, it's still very early, so we're going to see how the timing and scheduling of everything affects, but it should be business as usual. I still plan on making EV videos about Tesla news or Aptera updates, and I actually reached out to Aptera to make sure that this wouldn't affect our relationship at all. I'm sorry you guys weren't the first to find out. You're kind of the first people I wanted to tell, but I just knew we got to do it on the show. These are kind of special moments, and we don't get a lot of those. So I was like, I have to wait to tell those two. And my wife's been asking me like every day for the past week, did you tell Mike yet? Did you tell Randy? Did you? And I'm like, I want it on the show. But it might, if anything, result in just a little bit less videos because there will be some more time designated to Telo. But as of now, it should be not much more than one day a week that I'm completely booked up. It might turn into more than that if something comes up, but that's kind of the expectation we have right now, is that it's probably going to be a once a week type thing. If something comes up, it could be a little bit more than that, but it was all lined out in the contract that like, this is what I'm up for. If we do more than that, we have to renegotiate. But whenever time is available, I will absolutely keep making Telosive Tech, Telosive EV, about whatever. Nothing really changes over there. It's just, there's a little bit of a bias now that we have to disclose and be aware of.
Yeah, you're still an Aptera fan. I know. We know.
Yeah. I am, and they know that too. They're aware. They're very aware of that, and they're rooting for them. I had a good talk with them about it, and they were just like, "Yeah, no, we're not trying to step on anybody's toes. We want everybody to succeed. We're just trying to serve an underserved piece of the market. They don't really see anything else out there that's overlapping with their product, so they just see it as, yeah, you guys make what you want to make and find customers that like it, and then we'll make what we want to make, and we think there's a market for mini trucks and practical utility vehicles in a small form factor, and we want to serve that community." So they're very friendly so far. Very,
they've been great.
Play ball.
I mean, last time you and I were interacting with them together, they were very fantastic people. We were talking with them the whole entire event.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing but smiling faces, great conversations, and a lot of awesome photos in which we still need to cover. It's been like a month since.
That was a good time to talk about it, I guess.
Before we pivot,
never got around.
Before we pivot to that, I have one last.
I got one after
launch.
you, Randy. So no worries.
Okay, I have one.
Ask away. This is what it's for.
Thing for you, Drew. What are you hoping to achieve or perform or like showcase, like with your new role here? What's your intent with it? What do you want to do?
Help, mainly. I should disclose from the beginning it was their idea. So if this all goes wrong,
I can see where the conversation started, by the way, from where we'll get in our discussion later.
Yeah, I did not go to them and say, "Hey, let me run your YouTube channel." That's not what happened.
I know where this was incepted.
Yeah, it was probably a week or so after we did that meetup. So I need to thank you, Mike, for introducing me to Telo in the first place. That's definitely credit to you for getting them on my radar. But the more I asked and the more I learned, the more interested I became. But I ultimately realized there's not a lot of people that are aware of this company. Like, a lot of people, when you bring it up online, are like, who's that? And, you know, before these talks started, they did not have a YouTube channel at all. Not even a, you know, small, insignificant. There was just no, I literally checked for, you know, how YouTube has a handle feature with the @ I literally typed in TeloTrucks to the YouTube handle, and it was available. I was like, wow, anybody can take this name that they already have the URL for on the website, and they already have the Instagram at TeloTrucks. I was like, anybody could take the YouTube handle. So because we were kind of mid-conversation about it, I said, I'm just going to take it now. So I just claimed it and said, I'll transfer it to you guys if you end up not going to me. Like, because if someone else takes it, they're going to...
another YouTube channel.
I know.
Just when you were
the first few videos were not me, though. I should disclose that. Was
okay. I was gonna say
that was an earlier person.
The first and fourth video, I think, are repeats because there's not any videos of the roll cage in action.
Yeah, well,
the thumbnail shows it.
Don't say too much because by the time this podcast goes live, the channel will look a little different. So
cool.
All the news you're hearing now will drop probably before these episodes air. So you're just catching the reaction. But yeah, I did create that channel, and then I added Telo's team members to it as owners, so they have control over it.
Nice.
I was like, I'm not trying to take it away from you. I just think the handle should be yours, so that's why I took it when I did. But my hope was when they reached out, they said, we want someone to kind of help us keep our community up to date, and we also would like to get the word out. And I would not have said yes to any company as much as someone might think I would have. It was specifically the fact that they wanted to make an efficiency-focused vehicle, and they wanted to rethink a form factor. That's the most exciting thing about the EV industry to me, is like when they want to rethink it from the ground up and not just take an existing vehicle platform and switch it over to electric. And the more I was talking with them about it, the more I was like, no, they really fundamentally believe that we're making vehicles too inefficient and we're relying too much on legacy design. So I love a good radical design as long as it has a function and a purpose, and that's kind of the epitome of what Telo's going for. And again, still a huge Aptera fan, probably always will be, still have one on order. In fact, road tripping down to Telo would be a lot easier in an Aptera. I probably would if it was out. But yeah, at the end of the day, as much as I love the Aptera, it is a two-seater. And for a lot of people, the three-wheel design might sway them the other way. It doesn't bother me, but it does bother some. And as Randy has attested on this very podcast many times, he's like, I like the Aptera, but 2 seats is not enough for our use cases. You know, we need a vehicle with more seats. So I was very excited / interested at the opportunity of helping out a young startup that's, you know, very early. It's safe to say much earlier in the development process than Aptera. You know, we're still pre-deliveries. But I was very excited at the idea of them. Well, when they first initially called me a couple weeks ago, it was on the group call, so that everybody was there that we saw at the Telo meet and greet. And they were just like, so we've been talking about how we want to be more upfront with our community about the development that's going on, and we want to keep people up to date so that it feels like, you know, stuff's going on, stuff is happening. Because when you don't post updates, people are like, who are you? What are you doing? Is anything going on? Is this a legit business? So they thought it would help with validity of the company and help more people realize that this is a real product and kind of spread the word. And they said my name just kind of kept coming up because I had the biggest video on the whole company, on Telos of EV. They were like, when you look up TeloTrucks, like no one comes close to the number of views that video pulled in. So they were like, your name keeps coming up, and we don't know what this job or what this role is. So we figured, why don't we just invite you in on the conversation and see, is this something you're even interested in? Could you offer anything? What can you do? So we've had a lot of talks over the last couple of weeks on exactly what I would be doing. And I was like, look, if you want some guy to just read tech specs, it's not me. I have to be silly. I have to do bits. That's what's worked for me on YouTube. And that's the only way I know how to really do content, is to try to keep it fun and light and digestible. So if you don't want a comedy element to it, don't go with me. And they they were open to it. They said, no, we think that's a good idea to kind of separate the brand and keep it lighthearted and give us a little bit more personality. So my goal is to kind of help convey their message and their company morals and values to a wider demographic so that they can focus harder on designing the vehicle and producing it, and I can focus on the online presence because I guess they think I'm somewhat good at that. I don't know.
That's cool.
You are, though, Drew.
Well, thank you.
You've shown that you are consistent with it and that you refined it to the level of being able to kick out a video in a day easily, and it won't look as different as something that you took 2 or 3 days to do because you put in that much efficiency and focus on what matters in the video. And so
thank you.
For you
that
to do that for them, I think
you.
just makes total sense. And I'm very excited to see what types of videos or content that you're going to be producing for them, because me and Randy know, because we've been watching you for years now, what you provide to YouTube. But to put that in the scope of what a EV startup company wants to put out is going to be the interesting part, because now there's a whole communicating something for the business and not just for views and just, I don't know, coming up with a funny skit maybe for it.
Right.
Like there's going to be some sort of like, not necessarily responsibility, but a intent on conveying a message. And in this case, it's going to be the intent of sales for a really cool product. And I'm just really excited to see what's going to come out of it, both out of you, out of the Telo team, and whatever else ideas you guys are going to come up with. And especially with what we discussed with the Telo team about a month ago. It's going to be an amazing time starting now and moving forward for the rest of 2024 and all of 2025.
Yeah.
What is going to be happening at that company. So
for sure.
I think you're joining in at a perfect time, and it logically made sense that they were thinking about this and considered you for that opportunity. So I'm excited.
Me too. I was very honored, and I I still have a lot of imposter syndrome at this point. I still
sucks,
work
doesn't
for an
it?
EV company, Drew.
I was like, is this how Randy feels?
Yes. I actually brought up imposter syndrome with my other thing that, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I brought it up.
You shouldn't
recently.
have it, though. I think I have more of a right to have it than you, personally.
No, man. I'm a nobody. You're
the talent. You're the artist. You wrote that thing to the thing you heard, you know? You've done that before.
I wrote the music to that thing you heard.
You have years and years of, tech commentary, and at the end of the day, this is what the internet's for, it's like voicing your thoughts and opinions. So I hope you never feel imposter syndrome just for, conveying the way you feel on things. Like,
I hope it goes away someday. I don't know when or how, but if they came to me, Randy, you've done the Telos of EV. Drew said no, and Mike has a job, but what about you? If they said that, I'd be like, imposters. I would. If imposter syndrome could be diagnosed to the point where there's a fatality to it, I'd be the first fatality, because I would be like, so a truck, but not one.
I talked to so many people about it leading up. I literally was just like, should I do it, to everybody I knew. I was just like, here's what's going on. What do you think? Is it?
I would tell you, I 100% would have told you to go for it. I don't want to repeat verbatim what Mike said, but everything Mike said, and the fact that you have, the internet's really good at sniffing out like BS, and when somebody's full of it, the internet's really good at knowing if you're just a grifter or if this is your lane. And there is no doubt that you are someone who's passionate about EVs now, the same way you have been and will be with tech, because they are one and the same, arguably just different chassis for different use cases, but the technology that helps to enable it because of these efficiencies, which also sometimes require somewhat of a radical design change and disrupt what we think. Like we all think flat screens now is okay, but there was a time where it was like, no, there's no buttons. BlackBerry's gonna win, and even then, that one has that was a thing. I lived through that. I remember when people said flip phones are the perfect form factor. Anything outside of a flip phone, you're stupid. It's not gonna work. It'll never work. And we came so far from that to the point where now we all have these little flat rectangles here, and that's the new norm because of these radical and efficient redesigns. And I want to see that same mentality eventually roll over to EVs, that we don't, because one thing why I love Aptera, yes, I would have bought one if it was just me and Brittany, but yeah, if Aptera ever does anything bigger than a 2-seater, you have my interest right from the get-go. But sure. The one thing I like about Aptera and why I'm a fan of them is because 619, baby, but besides that,
it's the San Diego code, by the way.
That's the zip code, or area code. That's the area code.
They were like, why did Randy just reference?
And if it's not 619, it's 858. But anyway, that's not the point. 619 is the OG. But anyway, but what Aptera is emphasizing on is that like what we're using is so inefficient, and there's a cleaner, more effective, efficient way to do this. And I've always loved that. And Telo, from the moment that Mike even had brought that up to me so long ago, I was like,
a year plus ago.
That was when it was just I was like, this is so cool. Like because I want a truck. I'm I'm a Rivian fanatic because it's the coolest truck that you can buy right now. But the idea of like a Mini Cooper for now, the idea of a Mini Cooper.
I'm already working. I'm already.
There you go, boy. I'm sold. I can imagine it'd be more cost efficient too. You know, I don't see myself dropping 90,000 on a I hope I don't. I can't afford that. But anyway,
they're targeting.
My point is that
you
being able to like have genuine contribution now to the space outside of just commentary and spreading awareness, but now you can actually help one of these startups. It's not. We always stop and we look at the big picture of it all, the Great Wall, the Trump Wall, Great Wall of Trump, but it's the individual little bricks that make that, right? And your brick is just a little bit more important with the foundation. There's a little drop in the water, right? But that it still goes towards something, and I feel like this would be a great use of your time when you're not doing the other stuff that you're like. I asked you about if you're stepping back from Telos of anything because that's
this is our last episode. No,
it's one and the same. Like Telos dies and now you're just Drew. Like I will carry the mantle of this is your Apple sheep, and I will see you in the next one. But,
right. I just transferred. Well, I just say from the beginning, the second they made the offer and kind of were floating the idea around, never in my mind for a second did I consider stepping away from this. Like, it's not just Telosive, like the name or the logo. I think there's a lot more to it. Just the community that we've built around it. The fact that we, get excited for product launches and talk about them with each other. And we know we see the familiar names in the comments and people that have been tuning in for years. And I would never want to step away from that. It doesn't matter how much they offered me. They couldn't get me to. So I made that very clear from day one, before any talk of contracts were even in the room. I was just like, I can't step away from that. That's my life. That's my family. Those are my friends. And it was never up for debate to me. And if it ever if they ever make me choose, I'm going to choose Telosive every time.
A person who can't be bought is a very dangerous person.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
I told him that. I was like, look, I'm passionate about this and I genuinely want to help. But it's like, I think it helps them personally. I said that a few times. I said, I think it's helpful if you have a guy with an existing audience that's kind of known for not doing sponsorships and not doing brand deals, that's willing to help you out and work on your own brand, then there's a little bit more credibility.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's why I think it works so well with you. Because now this is where that integrity now comes to the forefront, that you can't be bought. This is now where, hey, I'm a guy who doesn't do sponsorships, ad reads, blah, 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 blah. So when I do say something, I mean it always. Like no one can ever challenge your integrity. They might not agree with it, but they can't say you're lying. They can't say you're a grifter. And
it'd be one thing if I got hired by Faraday or something, and they were like, "You should be our, content," and I'd be like, $300,000. I don't.
If Lucid came to me, I would tell them, Lucid, thank you so much. If only you were a real company. I don't care what you guys. I don't care. I'm caught up, by the way. I've been gone, audience. I've been gone, but I've been tracking, and I'm caught up, and I don't care. You can't convince me yet, but I'm just biased.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're both biased. Well, should we finally get into the tale of us talking with Telo a month ago, Drew, since we've been teasing it for weeks on end?
Yeah.
Seems kind of topical since
I figured you guys would ask the same kind of questions that the audience would ask, which is why it's good to get them all out. So if you're done with questions, for sure.
I'm happy for you. It's not questions, just a comment. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
This is exciting.
I appreciate it.
This means I get to see you more. I'm very selfish and happy about this.
I love the fact that, like, Drew, I have to do something like a peek behind the curtains for a second. Drew always encourages everyone in his circle to be greater than what they think their limit is, and it's not always about like doing a show or a podcast or whatever. It's something that supersedes that has a greater like purpose. And he encouraged Nick a long time ago to pursue his passions, and at the cost of stepping away from doing this, his calling was calling.
He listened really well to that one.
Yeah.
He listened too well. It's not here anymore.
All in. And he should have. That was the right call.
But you have always been a voice of encouragement and support to those who express those interests, and the same with me. I'll never have a greater thank you for you than to your continued support of just mentorship and friendship of like how to navigate these weird digital waters and stuff like that. And there was always like more or less paraphrasing, like go see how vibrant the colors out there are, and this will always be your home. And likewise, now I can say it to you that you can go outside of your own walled garden of branding that you've done, while still having that foundation there for you. You can now go express those excitement and curiosities and what you want to see change in this space in a way that is actually going to be tangibly impactful, more so than here's what you guys should do, here's what I like, and I don't think this is like that works, and it might even get you on a radar, but there is a threshold to that. There's a limit to a point where it's like it might be an echo chamber, like no one knew was going to hear it. But the moment you're able to step outside of that circle, that sphere that you're in, and you're able to still take the same energy and passion that's there and apply it to a new sector with a whole different group of people, that can have a greater impact. There's a broader reach of it all. So now you get to do the same thing you've encouraged all of us all these years to go make the most out of that new endeavor excitedly. And that's why I'm so excited for you, because this feels like a proper fit, because it aligns so much with what you want to see from EVs. They're so early on, you can have a meaningful impact, and that's like the coolest contribution. Not the same with Tesla. Tesla, I think you should fix it. Like, they don't care. It's like telling Apple to fix their iPad lineup. They don't care. Apple, you have too many pencils. They don't care. But someone way smaller, that's the domino right there. That's one of the first dominoes being set up. So, man, I'm so excited for you, dude. This is so cool.
The timing could not have been more perfect, by the way. I was just talking with Forrest on the phone before we started recording this. He just watched the first update video. So I didn't want to confirm anything until I knew. Like, I was like, my hands were so sweaty because I don't know. I've never. Oh my god. This might be too honest, but that's okay. I'm in a safe place.
Yes,
I'm among friends. But basically, you know, when I was first going there and I was telling people about, like, I'm thinking about taking this job offer and I'm not sure if I should do it. And originally, you know, the thought in my mind was like, okay, the biggest risk is like, is this a real company? You know, is this a real brand? Do you want to associate it when you're not so sure about it? You know, have you done your research about everything going on? And then by the time I was driving home, I actually had the opposite problem. I was like, these guys know so much about everything, and I feel so little in this. I was like, I know so little about all of this, and I'm trying to catch up, and there's all these things I'm learning that I didn't know, and I was just like, now I feel like maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I'm underqualified, but...
That's the imposter syndrome.
It's very, very hardcore imposter syndrome. So when I finished the first update video, and, you know, it's unlisted, but I sent it to Forrest to Proofwatch, I was so nervous. I was like, I hope they like it. You know, I hope it's the right direction they're feeling. So the call was kind of the feedback from them watching it. And they said they loved it. They said it was great. So I was just like, oh, like 2 seconds before we started this podcast, I was like, okay. Like it felt so much more relief to know that, like, there wasn't any like major. They were just like, change this one little thing and this little thing, but it wasn't like creative things. It was just like what we can and can't say. So I was like, okay, it was easy. It was like, okay, they liked it, so we're on the same page.
That moment where you're like, you go like, oh my god, I'm gonna get called out for being the phony that I feel like I am. Like, that's the imposter. Like, they're gonna call me out and they're gonna be right. I don't know, like they'll say, exactly. Look, man, this is terrible. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're absolutely right. I overreached. I'm
sorry.
I overreached. I faked it till I made it too much, but I'm still a faker. I don't belong. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go.
I just haven't felt that way about YouTube, like, ever. Even in the early days, I've always just been like, well, this is me. So if they don't like it, oh well, you know, you can't hurt my feelings, which is what I kept telling them. I said, tell me if this is too far. Tell me if you don't like this, because you won't hurt my feelings. I just want feedback. And they've given me a lot of creative control. Surprisingly, they've just been like, yeah,
this is awesome, man.
They're like, this is what you do, so we're not going to tell you. Like, when I first got there, I was trying to figure out where to film, and they were working. Everybody was working away. You know, the engineers are talking with each other, and they're cutting up this little test setup. It's made of wood for the interior and everything, and it was kind of noisy. So I was like, I'll go in the conference room so I can get a nice quiet place to get audio. And I showed the footage to Forrest. He was like, well, that's fine, but you should film with the trucks and everything. And I was like, well, I didn't want to interrupt what's going on. He said, no, just tell him to be quiet. And I was like, you sure?
Excuse me, do you mind keeping it down? I'm making a video. Thank you.
Right. I should have tried that. But I felt weird just telling people, like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. I'm used to doing it by myself. So it's just like, it's still, I'm getting used to it, and I'm slowly getting comfortable with it. But it's kind of like when you fold your hands the other way, you know. It just has this little, I've never been on this side before, you know.
It's cold, but yet kind of comfortable.
Yeah, there's some things to get used to, but overall, yeah. So thank you, Mike, for introducing me. That was. And I think,
all right, now, Randy, you and I need to go talk with the Rivian folk. I'll get you a job with them.
Go talk to RJ.
Rivian Randy. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I would sell out so quick. I'm not one to sell out, but if RJ or one of his team members came to me and said, "Hey, man, see your passion, we're for it," I would get on all fours. Let's do. Okay. So Mike just posted something, and I timestamped this. I was going to tell you, Drew, the only thing I want to see your fingerprint, your thumbprint on this is you got to get rid of that T in lieu of the Talos of T. That's the only thing I need to see. Outside
Drew
of
and I were
that,
talking about that on the way back from the event, or maybe it was during the event. Drew realized that the name of his channel and the name of the company aren't too far off from each other in terms of phonetics and I guess just lettering in general.
Talos, dude.
I told them that, by the way. They're very aware. I told Jason straight up. I was like, I think we have to change the name of the whole company. I know it's my first day and all, but
but as the creative director of content strategy,
I've got more weight than you then.
Yeah, I don't.
The CEO.
I don't.
I got more subscribers than you. I know what I'm doing.
It's like, well, I do own the channel, so what are you gonna do?
It's like walking into an Apple store and one of the geniuses, "Hi, are you looking? I know more than you."
Yeah, honestly though, if I'm being quite frank, between the two names, theirs is a lot cleaner and a lot shorter, which I prefer. Like I have on several occasions wanted to change the name of Telosiv because it's too long and people don't know how to pronounce it, and I hate kind of explaining the backstory of it every time. People go, "What's that? What does that mean?" And I was like, "Why did I?"
I was a child.
I was a child. I was in love. Yeah, I was like, I was like, I don't know. I feel like I can't change it now. I'm too deep. It's too late. You just have to have brand consistency after a certain point, which is why I would not try to convince Telo to change their name. But, yeah, it is fun. It is hilarious how close they are. And I told him we need to do something with that. We need to make a bit out of that or something. Like we have to come up with some crossover thing. And he seemed interested in it. So he was like, yeah, we'll make a joke out of it somewhere.
I love it.
And Randy, this all happened right after we sat in those bolstered seats in the Performance Model 3.
Good things happen after you sit in the bolstered seats.
Apparently so. To summarize it, we met a lot more team members, which was great. I mean, meeting Jason and Forrest initially was awesome, but then seeing Forrest again was cool to catch up with him. But seeing more of the other team, especially someone who just joined pretty much like a few days prior for us meeting them, it was pretty cool to get their story on how they learned about Telo. So talking with them, they also had the chassis that you see in a lot of these promotional images, and some of
they call it the test mule. That's the official term.
They had that. It doesn't even have wheels connected to it, by the way, Randy. So when
that's a different thing. Sorry.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the vinyl, not the vinyl.
Okay. I don't know what they call that.
Made.
Yeah, it's like a mock-up, just to give you an idea of the size.
Yeah. Pretty much the mock-up look of it, the size, shape, color, and all that. They had that with wheels kind of positioned in the wheel wells, but the wheels weren't connected to anything, which is funny because at some point someone leaned on it or kicked one and fell over. But that's because it serves more of a purpose of what this is intended to look like, and not functionally working. That was meant for what they've been kind of showing off recently, both on the YouTube channel, or Drew is, whoever is, on the YouTube channel and all that. The prototype looking thing that actually has functionality, and what we rode in around their HQ.
Yeah, it works. It runs well.
It works, and now they've got a roll cage on it and some simulated roll cage doors and all that. It's pretty neat. But we got to talk with them, a lot of engineers. One has the same skill set as me, so it was great catching up with him and us discussing a lot of the struggles that we have in our industry as engineers.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. It was a fantastic time talking with them. I think it was a 2-hour event, 3-hour event, Drew.
Yeah, we were there for a while.
The whole time there.
And they were just so willing to listen. You know, they were taking requests and ideas, and anytime we'd say, "Are you going to do this?" they'd say, "I don't know. What do you think we should do?" You know, like we're talking about it, but that kind of thing. So seeing them want to engage with the community and be willing to take feedback and stuff was really neat.
Right. there's a lot of conversation happening around how to communicate what they're doing with the community. And we were pointing a lot at Aptera for a while. Like, see that they've got their engineers, or at least their media people, talking about it in the office, but they're talking to you on YouTube, where most people obtain information or entertainment. Right. So it'd be smart to follow in those footsteps. But now knowing that they've just pretty much hired Drew to do it, genius move, by the way.
Yeah, I'm curious how the community's going to react to that. We'll see. You guys are being nice and polite, of course, because you're my friends. But so I'm just wondering what the.
No, if you said you're working with Lucid, I would have been like, Drew.
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past Drew after our podcast last week. No, the week before. Yeah, when he was here.
I just don't think we mesh well brand wise. Lucid has a marketing team and a.
They're all about efficiency, Drew.
Well, they are, but they're also all about like luxury and high quality and best in class, and that's not
Saudi money. As long as there's oil, there's a Lucid. Yep, that makes sense.
Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, pretty much.
So yeah,
but the community will probably. Well, they're gonna. I can't wait to see what they say, but I suspect they're gonna be very supportive because. This is
hopefully.
I mean, you are the people you keep. You know, you put out the energy that you attract as well, and I think there's a lot of overlap about the excitement and the curiosity of just like radical new designs and stuff, because it challenges your status quo. This is your think different style for EVs.
Here's to the misfits.
Yep. Those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Amen.
What?
What?
Excuse me?
The Jobs prayer? You don't know that?
That's the Jobs prayer. And I do it 2 fingers because who needs a stylist? Like this.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, really.
Yeah, man. But we had a great time with the Telo team when we were there.
Yeah, we did.
Both almost the whole entire car ride back. We were discussing ideas and different thoughts that we had, and just the experience of, getting to see the vehicles again, but see their next chapter opening up at this point. It used to be, well, they're kind of getting there. They got something. Now it's okay. They're really they're serious about this at this point. Not right. Maybe this is coming off more as, trust me, bro, they're totally real and all that, but
people just don't know. Especially in the startup space, everybody is rightfully skeptical of everything. So it's natural for people to be like, is that a thing? Is that a real company? What are they doing? What's going on? So to have I just think the timing of everything's kind of perfect. It's like they're young enough that they kind of need someone to come in and decide how the brand is going to be or what it's going to look like, and they're small enough that they are engaging with the community and willing to like collaborate or work with a small YouTuber like me. They probably aren't really in the position to hire a huge YouTuber because a huge YouTuber is going to ask for too much or that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just exciting stuff.
Yeah.
No, we'll see how long it lasts.
I'm excited. Even if it is short term, I think this is a cool chapter in the greater Telos of story.
Yeah. It's a good opportunity if nothing else. I'm learning a lot along the way about things, so it's educational for me at the very least.
Wow. I'm going to call it here, ladies and gentlemen. I have to step away.
Thanks for making the time, Randy. I appreciate it.
We had a lot of fun. Man, no, thank you for sharing this cool news.
Yeah, Drew? I really didn't want you to find out later.
I would have a fit. He's saying I would have a fit, and I would have.
I'd have a fit.
Well, there's sometimes scheduling it's been really crazy, but surprise, somebody I'm going to leave with this. Somebody asked me I'm sorry. Somebody asked me. They said, "Hey, are you still doing Telos stuff, or did you get nicked?" And I laughed so hard at that. I laughed so hard at that.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. God.
Yeah. No, I'm here, guys. For
the record, you don't get nicked. You nick yourself.
You give nicked. Wait.
Thanks for making the time.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, Randy. We'll see you.
I will catch, if you guys are going to continue the story, I've been dying to hear it too for Taylor. I wasn't involved in that whole thing, so I don't know the rest of what happened, weeks ago. So I'm going to catch the second half of this when it goes live, so I can be up to speed about what you guys were doing. Because I like that you guys are close enough that you can go explore it, and I'm just like, but then I have a good time checking out, like, oh, look at the stuff they did. That's fun. So
it is fun. I'm enjoying the Randy Nexus channel, so it gives me something to watch. And I'm spending a lot of time on the road lately, so it's nice to have podcasts, which yours kind of work as podcasts too. So
sometimes, yeah, I'm playing catch up. But anyway, I'll see you guys. Take care.
Bye, Randy.
Bye, Randy.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Wow. Well.
All right. Sorry, I kind of took over today's episode. If you want to talk news, we can too.
Heavily deserved, honestly. I mean, the news has been piling up for days and days and days. I keep on trying to keep up with it, and there's so many topics that have been shelved for the next podcast, and then they've got so much dust on them. Like, I don't know, Tesla's range estimation variables being revealed a little bit more. Model Ys, like mine, now having a retrofit for HEPA air filters. I guess that's something that we could get into.
I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah, that was something that I could actually. I see it in the app. I can get a HEPA filter.
Oh, it's there.
Retrofit.
That's cool.
It's like $330, I think.
Oh.
To get that.
I don't know if I do
done.
that.
And I don't think it's worth it for me. In which I actually. So to follow up on our last discussion, Drew, with the Model Y, I was divulging at the end of the podcast that it was having a lot of issues with steering, and by which it was very noisy. I got to take it to the service center. Was it yesterday? No. Wednesday? Yeah, on Wednesday. I got to take it to the service center, in which I got to see some fun stuff there. But they serviced the vehicle, and the problem's gone now.
What?
The whole problem has disappeared. They made it disappear pretty quickly, which I was very happy about. But
wait,
pretty much...
It was same day?
It was a same-day thing. I had...
Wow, that's good.
I think I have an infographic of it somewhere. But I had so many different things looked at. And they got most of them done. Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
So I had it was the upper control arms, which is the problem. So thankfully, the problem with my Model Y wasn't catastrophic, which I kind of took with a grain of salt when the service member reached out to me saying, I'm going to delay your service date. And also, you shouldn't worry about driving your car. You're going to be fine. And I'm like, what? Let's have a conversation about this then. And he took time out of his day. This is what I liked about it. He took time out of his day. I don't know whether he was on the clock or off the clock at this point, but it was like 7 or 8 p.m. Yeah. And he was continuing to message me still about the issue, which I appreciated very much because he was reassuring me that there's a lot of noise. It may sound annoying and terrible, but it's actually okay because it's mainly the ball joint on the upper control arms where they meet the rest of the suspension components. This is actually a common problem with 3s and Ys, I think early 3s and Ys.
I've heard that a lot, yeah.
I looked up later after having the conversation with the service guy, and pretty much how early 3s and Ys were engineered with their drainage systems for fluid on the windshield. Pretty much, whether it's windshield wiper fluid or rain coming off of it and spilling down, it would go into the drainage canals underneath the hood.
Yeah.
And the water would just dump onto the upper control arms. And you'd think, okay, that might be bad, but it should be fine, right? No, the water would get into the ball joint of the upper control arms and caused this noise and wear and tear as well. Thankfully, they didn't see as much wear and tear. It presented a lot more noise than it did failure in terms of actual components breaking. So
interesting.
At least in my circumstance, there was no catastrophic breakage going on, but it was noisy as hell.
Yeah.
So went in. They got it fixed the same day. My upper control arms used to be silver, and now they're black. That's the only noticeable difference.
Oh, I would prefer that, actually. That sounds cool.
Yeah. So it matches my rims, but you can still see a bunch of other stuff in there that's a little bit more silver, like the brake calipers. But they serviced my upper control arms, so those are fixed. The car is silent. It sounds great.
Good.
I now feel a lot more confident driving it, so I'm happy.
That's awesome.
They also, my dogs at some point, a couple months ago, we were on a mini day trip, road trip. Mm-hmm. And the dogs saw something outside the car when we were outside the car, and they pretty much destroyed the upper rubber pieces of the door panel.
Oh, that's right.
A whole bunch of you and your wife got to see it in person when I think we drove to either a Telo thing or something else. But
I remember.
It was all that kind of almost where like you'd rest your arm right next to the window. It was pretty much torn up by claw marks and teeth. I think mainly just claw marks. I don't think there's any teeth marks actually. But they replaced that, but they said that they still have to clean some stuff up on the edges that is not as noticeable, but they'd like to get it done. So they did that, and then it was also discovered, I think by my wife at one point, that we were missing a lug nut on the back right tire or rim. Wow. So instead of, I think, having 5 lug nuts on the back, we had 4.
Do you think the tire shop screwed up?
Pretty much we get serviced we got the tire rotations done at America's Tire. It seems like they forgot to put one more lug nut on. And they pretty much told us, we don't have it. You're just going to have to go buy one, but you should be fine driving it anyways, just no spirited driving. Which is funny because then a couple months later, I got the acceleration package and we did some semi-spirited driving.
Yeah, we did. That's funny.
So thankfully we got away with that.
Don't tell Elon, he'll want to delete that. Oh, they drive without that one?
Gosh,
less parts, less complexity.
So we had those 3 things. I also asked if they could look into some noise on the back right that's been there since day one that appears kind of like with your whistling noises with the window. There's mine, but with there's some pieces, I think on the back right passenger where it meets the sidewall of the chassis. I think there's some rubbing going on there that's causing some noise, but it's hard to tell. They didn't look at that.
Okay.
They charged me for it at first, but then at the end they nah. They originally quoted me to be done. I brought it in around 7:30 a.m. in the morning. And then what was nice is it's not too far from my work, so I bike to work, so that was great.
Oh, perfect. That's cool.
Around midday, I also had a dental appointment, so I biked to the dentist. And then it was right before I biked to the dentist, they called me saying they're done. And they originally quoted me that they're going to be done around 7 or 8 p.m. So they got done several hours earlier than they were going to. And got done with most of the things. So happy customer. Great. I got reassured by them in the app before the whole thing. They also got my service time back because they originally thought that they weren't going to have the pieces or parts needed for the repair, but they did. Anyways, long story short, my car now works. It's quiet. And a lot of the things that need to get fixed are fixed, so I'm really happy.
Good. Wow. It's rare, I feel like, to hear a very positive Tesla service story, but right? I'm glad we have one. That's great.
I know. I was so... In the time when they told me that they're going to delay my service time to 3 weeks later, I was stuck in the dilemma of... I don't know if this car is going to have a catastrophic failure on my regular drive. And we don't have a third vehicle. And I have to drive 30 minutes in the morning and an hour in the night.
Right.
And I don't want anything to happen with the car in between there. So I was having to come to terms of do I just rent a car? And I bring up the costs of it, and it was getting around $600 or $700 if things got delayed 3 weeks, and who knows how long the repair was going to be, if it was going to be a short repair or a long repair. I didn't know. So I was thinking, okay, minimum amount of time that I'd need to rent a car is 3 weeks. and that's going to cost me around what I calculated about $600.
Oh, jeez.
I thought I don't want to do that. I'd rather just buy a junker, or maybe not a junker, but like some crappy gas car for like $2,000 or $3,000, and then don't know what to do with it after I get my car fixed. So it's coming to those terms of like, I need a car that is somewhat reliable to get me to work, and I don't want to put the Y in the situation where it's going to have a catastrophic failure on my daily drive to work, and then even more problems are going to come from that because it's now had a catastrophic failure on the road, which will then turn to more catastrophic failures probably, because it's like dominoes. You can't just expect one problem to happen. It's going to have something else occur. Chassis might get scraped up or something else. So was looking into that, and thankfully I didn't have to stoop that low because Tesla service, 1, reassured me that everything was fine, and then 2, got me my service time back at the time that I originally requested, which is as soon as possible, which was like a week after I put it in. So
take notes, other automakers. That's how you do it.
Yes. I think how they handled it in the app was great, because I was talking with a guy. I knew his name because he divulged to me, here's my name. I also own a Model Y, and I'm not going to be working on your car personally because I'm not going to be in the shop at that time. But here, I've dealt with this problem many times in my shop. Yeah. Because it's a Tesla service center. And here's what it's going to look like. So he was very helpful, and I like that. I like that communication rather than not having a communication and them just delaying things. Just like with your problems where they don't really communicate with you. There's no one to talk to. Right. And you're having to drive a long distance, and you're out of car, and it's a stressful situation because a tool / utility that you paid a lot of money for is not usable. And it's annoying. On service level, annoying.
They're probably going to try to grok out that part of the business. We'll talk to a large language model. It'll solve all your problems.
Put glue on your pizza then. That's more tech related, but that's been servicing around with OpenAI. And
may I ask how much the control arm service was? Did they replaced it? You said
they replaced it. I've got it. It's in my phone, which is acting as a camera. I wish. Here's something tech related that I would like for Apple to do. Make it so that you've got like a phone interface on your computer when you're doing continuity camera. So that way you could still surf your phone on your computer, but instead of touching, it's now clicking with a mouse. Yeah, it's going to be clunkier, but at least I can access it. Anyways, I think it was around $200 without the basic warranty, in which I don't have the basic warranty anymore. Yeah. So
$200 isn't bad at all.
Yeah, $200 to $300. The majority of the cost of the servicing was the door panels, because what they have to do is replace, I think, the whole piece. They can't just source the one rubber piece. I think they have to replace some other stuff.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
That tallied up to like $1,000. So
I gotcha. Yeah, the interior stuff doesn't surprise me, but I just, because the control arms are more, of a mechanical component, I would have thought they'd be pricier. But I'd heard lots of other people with Model 3s, early 3s. I don't know if they fixed it later. Do you know if they redesigned it?
I think it's fixed in the factory now. How they build them now, I believe they've corrected that issue. But
we'll see if mine has that.
So that was the funny thing, is then once this guy, the service guy, when I was talking with him in the app, he said it's an upper control arm issue. Here's what's happening. I then looked it up, and then from several researches, one link popped up that said, check all the recalls on your car with your VIN, and you can see like what things are an issue. And I would think this would be a recall issue, in which it was, but I put in my VIN and it said there's no recalls standing for your vehicle right now.
I don't recall it ever being considered a recall. I don't know where you draw the line between recall and design flaw.
Right.
It's like,
and that's where I was getting annoyed, is it is a design flaw that can turn into this issue, and it has been an issue for a large audience. Yeah. But it's not being treated as a recall. It's just being treated as, this is something for service centers to expect after X amount of time for these vehicles because of Y reason. And Y reason being there's a design issue. It's not going to be catastrophic, so it doesn't warrant a recall. But it will present itself as a problem once people start hearing a very loud squeaking, creaking noise whenever they're turning the steering wheel, or even when they get out of the car and like push against the structure of the vehicle, you will hear it creak and squeak.
Yeah. That is a good question. Now that you phrase it that way, it's like, why isn't that a recall? Especially when NHTSA has recalls about like the size of icons on the screen. But it's like, oh, by the way, all these cars have the exact same problem. Oh, well, just fix it when it happens. That's all. Maybe
it might just be a classification issue, or not issue, but it's a bureaucratic classification issue for the failure, or not even failure, because it's not even technically it's failing, but not failing. It's failing to a certain extent, but functionally, I guess it's still working. But of course, my problem didn't present to be worse. It still stayed at noisy, but it never actually failed. If it did fail, then I would, of course, be a lot more angrier right now. But instead,
that would be a huge problem.
Nothing bad happened, and I got my car fixed. So nothing to really complain about at the end of the day, besides service center did their job, and they did it effectively. And I really hope many other Tesla service centers take note, in which I need to still give my service center a review, because they asked me to send them feedback or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd give them 5
I really
star.
hope they take a page out of this service center's book, because, man, they did it fast, they did it well, and they had a lot of garage space. That's something that I noticed as well when I was there.
That's good.
They had a lot of cars in there. They actually have a wrapping service at that location that I went to. And so it was funny.
That's neat.
Going in and seeing at one point if it'll load, there was a Model Y that had a whole bunch of different wraps on it, which was quite entertaining to look at. Yeah. It had gold on one panel. It had, I think it was an ultra red Model Y, but the hood was ultra red. One of the quarter panels was gold. The other was like a matte gray. And then the front bumper was that like satin green looking, or like a shiny green.
Yeah. That's hilarious. But, there's so many. Speaking of, did you see they've brought back silver for the SNX?
Yes, under a new name now. It's no longer, I forget what the old silver was called, but now it's called, I think, Lunar Silver.
Luna Silver or something. But it looks...
I thought it was Luna, but then I looked on the side and said Lunar. I'm like, okay, I'm getting Luna from Aptera.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably very close to the old one. They might have tweaked it a little bit, but I love the look personally, and I'm like, hey, that was gone for like, what, 7 years? Now it's back.
A long time. I mean, on many podcasts, we were caught begging and pleading for more colors, and finally we're getting more colors for the sexy lineup.
Right.
And it's great that we got to see Quicksilver. Last time you were in the Bay, we got to see it together.
Yeah.
And now the SNX are getting the silver treatment again, in which it's apparently a different silver. Maybe it's just one extra coat.
I bet that's what it is. They just
because I think that's what the ultra red is compared. No, I think they're both ultra red, but the red versus the ultra red, the metallic red versus the ultra red. Yeah. I guess one more coat.
That's my guess. I don't know for certain, but that was the same thing with midnight silver versus deep silver stealth metallic or whatever.
Versus
stealth gray. That's right. Yeah, stealth gray is just an extra layer.
Stealth gray on the SNX for the 3Y. I don't know. Again, now I'm just confused on how many layers one has what, and
there's so many different silvers at this point.
Which is great. Now we're getting a lot more customization, which is what we've been asking for these vehicles.
Yeah.
We're getting tired of just like seeing the same old all the time.
See what happens when the company has to try to sell? It's much more fun. We have lots more things to talk about opposed to a few years ago when it was like, they raised the price again. They removed something else.
Have we talked on the podcast that the long-range rear-wheel drive Y is back?
I can't remember. It's been so long. I don't know.
I forget if we mentioned it 2 weeks ago or not. But
I love it. By the way, that's a great trim.
Yeah, it's the trim that you and I both wanted and never got.
Right. Yeah. 100% of the people on the show right now reserved a rear-wheel drive long range.
And now was it? You can get the Gemini rims darkened.
Oh, I did see that for $500.
500. I would pay for it. To be honest,
you think that's worth it?
Well, it's what my original spec. It's of course somewhere on my phone. It popped up on because Apple sometimes, if you've got like the photo widget, it'll bring up old photos.
Yeah.
Compared to new photos or whatever. One of the old photos was a comparison of what I originally ordered and then what I got, and it was the originally ordered one was a long range rear-wheel drive Model Y with the Model 3 aero rims on it. Not even the refresh Model 3 aero rims.
They were going to put the aero rims
that you have. It was the original aero rims.
Yes.
I thought those looked amazing, and I loved it. And now you can, you can get that. The long range rear-wheel drive Model Y stealth gray, which is what we want, or I guess not stealth gray. We want midnight silver metallic, but whatever. Same color pretty much, just a little bit darker.
Yeah.
With darker aero rims.
Dark rims just always look better, in my opinion.
It looks fantastic. I am both annoyed and happy that this thing exists now because it's something that I wanted and never got.
Oh, you already have 20-inch wheels. Never mind. I was like, Mike, you should just buy the rims for $500 and put them on your car, but I forgot they're a different size.
No, mine are 20-inch rims, in which they're the sport rims. I would get a range boost because you can buy these tires. You can buy the aero rim.
Would you ever consider
tires.
that?
No. Well, yes.
No.
It's first answer. I guess impulse answer is no, but the long-term answer is possibly if the opportunity presented itself. But pretty much what happens is when you go in to get new tires, you're just replacing the rubber. You're not replacing the rim.
Right.
But some people do in different parts of the country. They have different tires for different seasons because the seasons are a little bit more extreme in those places, like the North. You need winter tires for the North because you're not going to just rely on your all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive system. The tires are what matters. But like it doesn't make sense to have, in this case, if I wanted to get winter tires and summer tires to have the same rims. It actually makes sense if I had winter tires to get the aero rims because then I'm still getting the same range theoretically all year. Because the range boost with the aero rims in the winter would be great, but then the temperature of the environment would be counteracting that, so I'd probably be getting the same range as what I get in the summer with the sport rims. But that's if I had a bunch of money, and I don't.
Fair enough.
I already spent it all on new doors for the car.
Oh, boy.
So.
Yeah. No, but they do look great. I wish the Gemini wheels would have looked like that originally. That's how they should be.
Would that would have swayed you a little bit more towards the Model Y in the long term?
Not.
You still
when I was in the market, there was a $20,000 price gap between the 3 and the Y.
Right.
So the question was, do we wait another, we didn't have an extra 20 grand laying around. So it was like, do we wait another, 6 months to buy this thing? Or do we want the Model 3 now? And I was like, I've been waiting for years. I can keep playing the waiting game. But at a certain point, and I drove the Sonata the other day because my wife was using the Tesla for work, and I was like, I don't know how we made this last for so long. The engine was getting really loud it was kind of a uphill climb, but not that bad. And then I got out and I was smelling things and I was like, oh God, here we go. I was like, this is when Sonatas usually start showing some issues. Is around 190,000 miles. So
I think that's acceptable at 190,000 miles.
Yeah, you kind of expect it, especially with a combustion engine. But I was like, we weren't going to be able to just keep driving that thing. We would have been left stranded somewhere. Luckily, my mom was home when she had the car and it wouldn't start. But with our luck and how much traveling we've done, it probably would have not started when we were off in the middle of nowhere. And then I would have been like, well, I'm waiting for the next Tesla to come out. It's like, you could wait forever. You eventually have to come to the point of like, I need a new car and I have the money. It makes sense. But yeah, it would have been nice if it was cheaper, but also I would not have probably gotten the Sonata to do what we needed out of our car. So
sure. And hopefully that's what a lot of people who are in the Rivian market are doing right now with the recent price decrease for a lot of the R1Ts and R1Ss.
Yeah, they're doing some. Is that like an inventory cut or something?
I believe it's some inventory. They're trying to push as much inventory as possible.
That makes sense.
Of course, I don't have,
because they're doing the refresh with the LFP and the heat pump, so they probably want to get rid of the ones they have on hand.
Right. LFP Rivian sounds pretty cool, but
I like that
the
idea.
R1, I don't think I would go for it, just because those are very big vehicles. I'd rather go for an LFP on like the R2 or the R3 for my personal uses.
So just because it's bigger, you think it should have a higher energy density?
It's just not something that I would be interested in purchasing, an LFP battery in a very large vehicle. I think for a large vehicle large, quote unquote, for the R1T compared to like an F-150 or a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Or the R1S as well. But in those, I think those are justified with like a lithium ion battery for their use cases, where for an R2 and an R3, those are a little bit more city-based. And with an LFP, the range that it offers right now in our current energy density capabilities, those are probably the sweet spot. For me, I found with my car is that, yeah, there's chargers everywhere, but in my daily workflow where I'm just purely supercharging because PG&E is just crazy with electricity prices here in California.
Yeah.
I mainly supercharge with the free referral credits. With the referral credits, I get free supercharging.
Enjoy.
But having to stop and charge after work or before work just puts a wrench in my work day for being able to like get off at a time that I want or getting on a time that I want. And then having to increase the frequency of me going to the supercharger to charge isn't something that I want to do. So that's why, at least in my life right now, decreasing that frequency is great, because that buys me more time to hang out with my wife or get chores done at work, chores done at home, or get work done at work. So having a lot more range capability, or a lot more range in general, a lot more battery capacity, is something that I value a little bit more. If I was being able to charge at home, I would probably say, LFP makes total sense for a lot of these things. But for my personal tastes, no.
That's what I was going to say, is if it's a Rivian, you're not going to get cheaper charging at superchargers anyway. So it's, I mean, as someone who's done a lot of road tripping with LFP, I don't see it as like restricted to just for cities. As long as the range is, comfortably over 200 miles and the charging curve is good, then
sure.
And you can charge it to full from home, instead of 80. So I think it's a good call. I mean, the biggest disadvantage, in my opinion, is it disqualifies it from the tax credit. But that's kind of isn't Tesla starting up local LFP production soon? I remember reading about it, but I haven't seen any concrete evidence that they've switched over to it for their vehicles. I saw that they were buying equipment from CATL, but I think in that same article it says it won't be operational till 2025. So, and also they probably wouldn't sell any to Rivian, knowing Tesla. They'd want it for their own uses. I believe the Powerwall 3 switched to LFP, which is cool.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's perfect for what that product is.
Yeah,
it's
for
stationary.
Home storage, stationary storage, LFP is like no brainer. It's like, of course.
Right. It's got to be cycled all the time.
Yeah.
Like night and day.
And go to full.
Right. Makes sense to also charge it to full as well. So
and weight doesn't matter as much because
it ain't being carted around anywhere.
Right. I mean, once when you deliver it, but other than that, you just bolt it and you're done. So, I would consider a LFP truck or SUV. I mean, I was just thinking how there's no LFP like 3-row SUV on the market except the R1S when they finally launch the new one. That will be the only one on the market that it's like for the people movers, it's soccer moms that are driving stuff around town mostly, as long as they're charging from home, 260, 70 miles, something like that is plenty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I'm trying to tackle in my own brain right now with LFP and trucks, because in one end, I, like you and Randy, we're all big fans of Telo, and I really do want to see that reality come to fruition in my life of having a Telo in our possession. But at the same time, one, my wife isn't really a fan of small trucks.
Sure.
And two, it needs to accomplish the use cases that we have for our truck, which is hauling. We do a lot of hauling, and then in the times that we do tow, we need that capability. So at least the Telo will have the capability of hauling. It's supposed to with the space that it's touting, but for towing, I don't think it's got that range. But I do think like an LFP in a Telo makes a whole lot of sense in the long term. But for right now, it makes more sense for them to just get the product out with whatever pack that they have or that they want to go forward with.
Sure. You got to start with kind of your best foot forward, which is what everybody kind of does. But
right.
I will agree with you that LFP probably doesn't make sense in any application where intensive towing is used, because that's when you slice the range in half pretty much. So nickel-based batteries are going to be crucial for any kind of towing application.
I was having a conversation like this with one of my coworkers where the idea of like the RAM charger that's supposed to have, I think, 150 miles of range with a 90 to 100 kilowatt hour battery or whatever, and then have a gas tank and a Pentastar V6 engine in there to take it all the way up to almost 700 miles of range. It's great, but then you think about, when's the last time did I use the gas in this vehicle?
That causes problems when a gas generator sits and it doesn't get used for a long time. Maybe they're designing it to age better than a traditional engine. I don't know, but
or the other thing is not having any gas in it, because gas generators are just, any gas engine thrives on having a certain amount of fuel in there. If you go below a certain level, it's not going to perform as well, and it's actually going to start causing damage to the engine or generator.
Yep.
Because it's not getting the proper amount of fuel at a given time. There's going to be cavitation or some other stuff going on that's not.
That happened in our Sonata.
Right. I think someone in our Discord, your Discord, but the one that I administrate sometimes.
I say our. That's fine.
That's fine. There is someone in there that does take their gas car down to pretty much not, and pretty much everyone's like, "Don't do that."
Right.
It's bad for the
No,
engine.
it got really low, and then we took some trip, and it like sat near empty for like a week, and then it wouldn't start.
It's so bad for it. Yeah. So you need to keep some level of fuel in there, but then you have to use there is that complication. So I'm now.
This is why I hate gas cars.
Yes, and that's where I'm now caught in this annoying conundrum. We have the use case of we need to tow, but then at the same time,
you have to tow very frequently, I think, for the RAM charger to be worth it. Like at least once a month, you do a big towing trip or something.
Right, especially for the price and the size.
Yeah.
But, some people do. And that's where I'm stuck. Is just like, we can't just stop and charge when we've got livestock in there, and it's going to take a long time. If we had like the charging capabilities of a Taycan or what Polestar is touting right now with, I think, the Polestar 5 or 4.
Oh yeah,
that would be great in a truck.
Yeah,
but no truck is really demonstrating that right now. The Silverado's okay-ish, but
it's the best, but not enough.
It's not enough for what livestock needs when being towed. You need less time fueling up, more time on the road, so that way you can get the animals or whatever from point A to point B as quick as possible.
Yeah, you don't get to use just get a snack, use the restroom. It's like, no, you
can't take the horse into Burger King. And you don't want to take the horse out or cows or goats out.
It's not the weirdest thing at Burger King, but
makes no sense to take them out on a lead line or anything like that, because they're going to think, all right, we're done. There's a lot of complications health-wise for those animals when taking them out.
For sure.
So that's something that I'm still trying to figure out.
towing great distances, I think, will definitely be the last use case for the combustion engine. I think the last few gas vehicles on the road are going to be long distance towing vehicles. Like, already, if you're just looking for a commuter, it's very hard to justify a gas car, in my opinion, when EVs are getting as cheap as they are. It's like, even with PG&E's crazy rates, I've cross-shopped with the insane price of gasoline. The EV is still cheaper, even with...
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and then you know, less brake pad replacements, less transmission, less engine failure, all that stuff. In general. Yeah, so if you're just looking for a people mover around town, EV wins. Already, if it's like, what about road trips? It's like, okay, it might take a little bit longer, but it's probably cheaper and better maintenance. The argument with pickup trucks is a harder one because you run into those edge cases where it's like, no, sometimes you just need a ton of energy and a battery pack can't cut it. So
I think that's where we're kind of landing, or at least my brain's landing at this point, is I don't think with our lifestyle, with me and my wife, I don't think two vehicles is pushing it for the minimum amount of vehicles necessary for our needs. So we might eventually, whenever we get enough money, probably push for a third vehicle, because right now the truck being used as a daily commuter for my wife isn't good for the truck or her or anything else.
Sure. So, yeah, that's fair.
Keeping the truck as kind of just the big towing rig, even though it's not a powerful truck that we got.
No, it's
keeping it as the towing vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And its main job is just to tow and haul for the jobs that we need done. It'll do great, but it will mainly just sit and hang out and wait for that use case, where for the daily needs, the why is what I need for my commute. Right. And then we'll see what the wife needs and what is available, in which I'm crossing my fingers for Ford to come out with a Mustang electric coupe that is a little bit more up my wife's alley in terms of preferences. But
yeah, absolutely.
Who knows whenever that happens? Maybe next year. We'll see.
We'll see. Any closing thoughts?
I'm very happy for you, Drew.
Thank you.
I speak for Randy as well, and this is that we couldn't be prouder for our friend to blossom into a new step in life, and whether you go further into it or it's just a nice fun side adventure that you have in your YouTube career. I think in either case, it'll be really cool to see what you churn out in terms of content for them, and what we'll see either in the near future or in the next couple months, or even in the next year, however long your contract goes with them, what you'll produce for them. And we're both just really excited for you and can't wait to see what's coming.
Thank you very much. I'm excited too. I will try my best, but no promises. I hope I won't let you down, but we'll see. We'll see how I do.
Don't think you will.
Alrighty. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.